And joining us right now to kind of get his take on this and how this all transpired over the last 18 or 19 days, Lieutenant Bob Kroll. He is the president of the Police Officers Federation of Minnesota. Lieutenant, good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for joining us. So what do you make of how this went down this morning? I'm guessing you're going to say it was long overdue.
You nailed it. It was long overdue. I wasn't there last night during the situation, the cleanup. It had been planned, I think, before and canceled. It never needed to happen. This thing could have been handled concurrent with regular patrol duties at the 4th Precinct when they first started setting up. It would have been as simple as having officers come in and say, you're not allowed to pitch tents here. Move or you'll be arrested, and that's it. They should have never allowed any occupation, and it was politics at play from the mayor's office on down.
So neighbors talked about being upset with the noise and the vandalism in the block streets, of course, and we had heard that for the last couple of weeks. I found it interesting just kind of looking at this kind of with a broad view. Yesterday, there was a city councilman who represents that district, Blang Yang, who came out and was getting very concerned about the response times, that there was a report yesterday that showed that response times were up by almost 54 seconds between April and November for Priority 1 runs in that area. And the timing to me just seemed interesting that we had that yesterday, and this morning at 4 o'clock, there were bulldozers ready to go.
Well, I think the planning may have been in effect, or it must have been in effect prior, but they have been feeling the heat for that because, there was a news story that was done last night, and it was just Carol Levin did something on 52-second response time, and that's the concern. I mean, when you got Plymouth Avenue, which is a major thoroughfare, it's delaying everything, not just the police, but they're delaying fire, they're delaying ambulance, and yesterday, I was at the Civil Service Commission hearing of the City Council, and they got an earful from the residents there. They were very upset that they were being deprived, basically, police service up there because all the 4th Precinct cops were maintaining physical security of the building, and all the other 911 response came from the other precincts. So everybody for the past 18 days doing 911 patrol on the north side was actually stripped from another precinct. So what's that do? That leaves the rest of the city short also. And those people are being deprived public safety.
I will say that there have been some Twitter accounts talking about a violent removal of the protesters. And we will just say, and I'll say this again, from our independent reporting, our Susie Jones was there. She witnessed nothing violent about this.
No, I'm sure there wasn't. It was. They had planned to go in hands off, give the dispersal and then leave. And then, if people refused to leave and wanted to be arrested, provided they didn't resist arrest, there'd be no force used, as in any situation.
Lieutenant Bob Kroll is with us. So one of the other things that we heard, because the mayor and the police chief did hold a press conference about 8 o'clock this morning, and one of the things that the police chief said, I'm going to paraphrase her, but it was pretty close to what she said. She said, we will continue to defend the right of those who wish to protest, but if you break the law of the state, laws of the state, or the ordinances of Minneapolis, we will hold you responsible. Is it your contention that by them simply setting up, by the protesters simply setting up outside of the precinct, they were breaking either the law or ordinances that they could have moved immediately?
Yes, it is. All they needed was someone to go out and say, you're not allowed to set up a camp here. You will be arrested if you don't leave. Give them a trespass order, and that's it. Same thing with blocking traffic. You can't shut down Plymouth Avenue or any of the adjacent streets for that matter. You're not allowed to camp in the middle of the street. You're not allowed to obstruct traffic. And those officers needed, from the moment of the onset of this incident, they needed to make arrests if people refused to disperse.
So today, we understand that there will be some sort of action at City Hall, a protest of some sort. What do you expect to happen there? I mean, certainly people do have a right to protest.
We'll see if the mayor learned her lesson. I mean, it depends on what they do. They have a right to protest and express their amendment rights, but they can't obstruct the movement of others, and that goes with blocking the sidewalk, that goes with blocking the streets, blocking entrances to public buildings, etc. They can hold their demonstration, but at what point do you allow them to start pitching tents and now they live there? And there was some pretty despicable behavior that was described. They were having sex outside in tents, outside the precinct. There was drug use. As you know, there was marijuana in the entryways. And not to mention the shots fired and Molotov cocktails being thrown at the police. I mean, that's riot. That's not peaceful demonstration. Let's not forget, early on, they were throwing Molotov cocktails into the police precinct. Now, people needed to be arrested for PC riot, which is a felony, and that didn't happen.
Again, we're talking with Bob Kroll, Lieutenant Bob Kroll with the Police Officers Federation of Minnesota. He is the president, the police union. Where are you with all of the talk that we have continued to hear about the videotape? And this is the demand right now. I talked to Jason Soul earlier today from the NAACP. He said that is what they want. And one of the things he did was he pointed to what's happened in Chicago and the fact that that story had been out there for 13 months. And the story was this kid came after the cop with a knife, and we saw videotape, and clearly, according to the prosecutor and those who witnessed it, that wasn't the case. So I guess the point is, where are you with that now? I mean, are you still saying that will that ever come out? When will we see it?
Certainly it will. And here's the thing: the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension for the state has the investigation. I'm sure they will echo what I say from my experience in investigations. You cannot release videotapes that are crucial evidence in this until the investigation is complete. But it certainly won't take 14 months. They told us early on it will take 2 months at the short end, 4 months at the long end to complete. So the BCA needs to complete the investigation. In addition, the mayor called in the FBI to do. The Department of Justice is doing a concurrent investigation and overseeing what the BCA does. Now, whether that link gives extends time onto it, I don't know. But the BCA is confident that their investigation will be done in a timely manner. But it's irresponsible to release any video evidence until the complete investigation is done.
But you have no problem with that video coming out once it's done?
When it's done, I certainly hope they will display it for the public and everyone can see the truth. And then we'll probably see that this is all uncalled for.
Have you seen it?
I have not. No.
Okay. But you're relying then on what you've heard and the stuff you've gathered. So you haven't seen it. So
no, I haven't seen it. I have not sat in on any of the interviews. I just have confidence in the officers that were there and their version of the events that was relayed to me.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, so you're saying perhaps today, by the way, when you're a police officer, you're always making that decision as to whether or not to let somebody step on the line or step over the line, aren't you?
Yes.
So you're always doing that. So at some points, maybe you'll allow protesters to stand and block a hallway or block a sidewalk for a while.
You know, if they're being reasonable, and you talk with the leader of the event and say, okay, you're blocking. We're going to need to have you move. You made your point and go. But when you tell them that the law's being broke, we're going to enforce it. It's time to leave. They dictate the circumstances, just like in any contact with police. Subjects dictate the circumstance.
One other thing, Jason Soul mentioned to me that the protesters were not protected by the police out at the 4th Precinct.
In what regard was that? I mean,
well, he mentioned that because I said that the police were that, and he said, well, they weren't protecting us; they were just protecting the building, and that they were subjected to, among other things, the shootings of the 4 fellows that went out there and shot 5 of the protesters.
Well, and there weren't any more shootings that took place that night than on any given night. And I'd ask Jason Soul, where is he? Where all these other black-on-black homicides occur? Where are Black Lives Matter? I mean, that's important. If Black Lives Matter, where are they when all these other shootings take place? We've had a number of shootings. There was no homicide, but we've had over 40 homicides there. And where are the numbers on those? Who are the shooters? Who are the victims? And where is the outrage?
Lieutenant Bob Kroll, president of the Police Officers Federation of Minnesota. Thanks a lot for joining us and giving us your reaction to what happened this morning. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, take care.